All right, so as you can see, this is a training webinar about how to do PolarConnect events for PolarTREC. So today's entire presentation is all about using this platform, getting kind of the steps to get ready for doing PolarConnect events, to what happens online, what it looks like when you do a PolarConnect event, and how to also prepare your presentations, both before you go out in the field and while you're in the field. And so that's what we're going to cover today. In fact, yeah, here's the actual agenda. So like I said, we're going to cover what are the PolarConnect events, how do you set them up, how do they work in the sense of like what's going on in Adobe, and then also where you find more information. So the first thing I wanted to share with all of you, and is if you have questions, just type them in the chat area, is a little bit about what are PolarConnect events. So PolarConnect events, there's two descriptions that we have. There's one that's found in the teacher's manual, and then there's also one that's found on the main page in online. And I've put pictures here so you can see where they come from. But basically, they're the opportunity to do a live event or a webinar from the field and talk about the science and share it with a broad audience. And we'll go a little bit into what that looks like down the road here. But there are two places that you can learn more about PolarConnect events, but basically they're real-time webinars that we conduct from the field to reach out to a variety of audiences about the science. So the first step is really about how you set up an event and what you want to do for your PolarConnect events. As I don't know if I mentioned this, but all of the teachers are required to do one if they can from the field. And so this is what you would go through and the processes you would go through. And all of this information is also in the teacher's manual and downloadable. So all teachers should have access to it. And I put a little arrow here as to where you can find that information in the teacher's manual. It's all under PolarConnect. So the first piece is teachers are responsible for connecting and figuring out who their audiences are going to be for the event. You're responsible for becoming familiar with how to run an Adobe event. You're responsible for putting the PowerPoint presentation together for your event. And you're also responsible for planning the event from the field and figuring out where you're going to hold the event. Are there any phone numbers you need to use, or IT people you need to connect with, etc. And we'll go through each of these pieces. And ARCIS's role is really to help facilitate that whole process and, of course, run the event. So the first step before you leave for the field is we want you to contact the audience and make connections with them and think about who they're going to be. And we talked a little bit with all the teachers at orientation about this, but this usually happens just before you start leaving for the field. You start figuring out who's going to come to your presentation, and you can also have more than one presentation. But if you're going to have more than one presentation, are they different audiences, the same audience? Are they going to be libraries, in schools, summer camps, senior centers, friends and family, other teachers? So figure out who is going to attend your presentation. Make sure you connect with them and find out what time and days. Are there any constraints about those things? Do they have to have on a weekend? Do they have to have it in the evening? What are the parameters for holding the event with that audience? And then also think a little bit about what kind of content they is most applicable or appropriate for the audience. If it's teachers, not only will you cover science, but maybe you might cover how they might bring the science into their classroom. If it's your kids in a classroom, it will be just about the science and the nuances of working out in the field. So think about what kind of content you're going to give your audience or present to your audience. And like I said, most of this is done before the field. And then once you have those ideas all in place, those contacts, and the date and the time, and what kind of content you're going to cover, then you email Arcus, Judy, and Janet, and you let us know all of those details. And we do want phone numbers and contact names or emails for your people at school that might be hosting the event or sharing it, or if it's out of a museum or something like that, or the library, we want to know those contacts. And Judy, feel free to jump in here anytime with things. So the next piece is then to become familiar with Adobe Connect itself, and that basically means practice. So big kudos to you, Dave, for showing up right now. You'll get to know all about Adobe Connect because you'll have had a real-time experience. But this also means that we want you to practice what it looks like in your classrooms, or, you know, if you're a researcher back at the lab. So, you know, join any of the PolarConnect events that are going on before your expedition, or if there isn't anything like that, just contact Judy and myself, and we'll set up a testing time with you and run through all the mechanics of how it works. Make sure not only that your classroom computer works and is set up before you go, but also make sure your Arcus issued computer or the computer you're going to take with the field also is working. And we've had some webcam issues this year, so make sure that your webcam is also working, and practice before you go out in the field. While you're in the field, you're basically going to run through that same thing again. Log into an event from the field, or if that's not applicable or you don't have time, definitely ask to have us test it out with you before an actual event. And same goes with any classrooms. If you got subs or museums or other people involved, we can arrange to test out things with you. So take advantage of us being able to troubleshoot before an actual event. So there's two views that you get to see when you join an Adobe Connect event. Right now, everybody under the participant window you're seeing it as a participant, and basically at this moment you are seeing the chat area. You're seeing a list of attendees. You see the webcam, and you see the screen where the content is showing. That's one view, and that's what all participants will see. When you come in as a presenter, which I'm going to show you here, your view and what you get in Adobe Connect is a little bit different. So I'm going to bump you all up to presenters. If I can remember where to do it. Never mind, I'll just do it here. Presenter. So for those of you that are here with me live, the view is going to change for you. So to change, Dave and Eric, you can just type in the chat box below if you see something different. Okay, so so what you see now is a little bit different view, and what you see is that there's now a webcam. You see the attendees. There's a public chat area, And there's a presenter and staff chat area and a final PDF area. So there's a lot more little, we call these areas pods. And this is what it looks like when you come in as a presenter. And I forgot to take a screenshot of it, so my movie will have it, but we'll have to share with everybody else. Anyway, so it changes, and you also have access to pointers and drawing tools and things like that. So I'm going to keep you in presenter mode for the rest of this presentation because there's things that I want to share with you. So what I want to do next is and we'll go into all of these little pods in a little bit, and each one of them and what they do. So the next little thing I want to talk about is actually preparing for your presentation. So you're going to, before you actually even come into Adobe Connect and are presenting, you will prepare your PowerPoint presentation, and you're going to send it to Arcus, and I'll go into how that works in a little bit. But basically, your PowerPoint, and I know this is kind of small, but it should include the following. It needs to be geared towards your audience, and we'd like it to be at least 75% about the science that you're in the field for, and about 25% on everything else, like life in the field, how you got there, introducing the team, little tidbits if you aren't focused on animals, you know, the animals or the landscape, so all those other kinds of things. What are you eating, life in the field, 25% about all of that stuff, and 75% about the science. We have people, our presentation time allotment is 1 hour. That's what we try to keep the presentations to, and that includes questions and answers. So we'd like it to be about 20 to 25 slides, or a slide a minute, so that leaves time for you not only to present but also to respond to questions. Your presentation is not going to be just your little piece, your presentation. It's also going to include Arcus base slides, and those are right here. I'll jump back to the slide a moment. It's going to have welcome to the PolarConnect. It's going to show you how to use the Adobe platform. It's going to have you'll have a slide that introduces the participants. It'll include about PolarTREC, and then it will have questions, join PolarTREC, and a thank you slide. And the order of those we'll share with you, but basically those slides will go into your presentation. And your presentation should also have a background. There's templates available on the jump drive. So there's like this little template that you see here that we're using, but there's other templates as well. And the other important thing is that all images should be in JPEG format and not high resolution photos. Screenshots should also be converted to JPEG because otherwise we have importing issues. We don't want any embedded animations or videos. If you do have a video, we need that separately sent to us or uploaded on the FTP site, and then we can show it while the presentation, at a stopping point in the presentation. We figured out how to do that, and that works pretty good. And then make sure that you credit any graphics or images that are not yours. I'll stop at the moment. Any questions so far, Dave or Eric? All right.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. And I'll let you type there, Dave. No? Okay. So these base slides, basically the first set of slides all the way up to join, up to questions go kind of at the front end of your presentation. You'll have your presentation, and then at the end of following up on your presentation, we'll put join and a thank you slide. Don't worry about if you don't get these slides in order. We can rearrange it and everything, but we're going to ask teachers to put the base slides in with their presentations before they get sent to us. And the base slides are available on the teacher's manual, and we'll put them also in the FTP site, so you can download them from there as well. Or you can email us and say, I can't find the base slides, and we'll figure out how to get them to you. So going back to preparing your presentation, once it's complete, so you got the base slides are in there, your content's in there, and everything is ready to go. You send it as a PowerPoint to ARCUS through our FTP site. Before you send it to us, you might want to have your research team also look at it, make sure everything is okay, and I'm hoping that while this is all going on and you're preparing your presentation, that you're working with your research team for content anyway. So anyway, just let everybody make sure they get to look at it and see what the final version is. It'll come to ARCUS. I just noticed that they're all ones. All of these are point number 1, 1, 1, and 1. Anyway, after it comes to ARCUS, we'll review it, make any edits, and then we reduce it to a small PDF, which you can see if you're in presenter mode. We use that PDF over here in the to kind of follow along with, and we also send that PDF out to everybody that's registered. That goes along with the next point, that just before your event starts, we'll send a list of everybody that's registered, and I'll get to where that lives in a moment, the registration, and we'll send a small PDF of the presentation and any final instructions to you. And then we will also schedule any Adobe testing if needed, and we'll also really start advertising your event. And that's a big job for all of us to do, including the research team, is make sure that we all advertise the event, and so that we can get the maximum registrations and let people know about it. Planning the event from the field. So again, you want to advertise your event, and I did put a link there to where people can register, but basically you send people to the PolarTREC website, and on the main page of PolarTREC.com there is a link to PolarConnect events, and if your event is coming up, we will have advertised it in the calendar. We'll have put it on the front page in our news item, and we will also cross-post to the arcus.org website. So there's a number of places and we will also post something on your expedition page at the top. There's an update section. So we will post in a number of places, and it will all lead to this registration page. And on the registration page, you can see upcoming events, and you can also see some of the recent archived events. So you want to direct, when you advertise your event, you want to direct people to this link and really have them go into it so they don't have to keep looking through the website. And then we will also cross-post everything on social media and our education listserv, and we hope that researcher teams as well as teachers cross-post in your social network area. So it's a lot of advertising, but we're all trying to get to the same spot, to this registration page. To plan your event from the field, again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, practice logging into the event, make sure your webcam is working. If you have to use a phone, know how to access the phone. Does it have any special numbers? If you're using a satellite phone, you obviously won't have an internet connection, but you'll need to know the phone number to dial into a PolarConnect event. And we will have, if you're using a satellite phone, we'll talk to you specifically about how that works. But most people this year and most of the time are using, have internet access, or at least a phone. You want to practice your microphone. If there's additional computers, if 2 computers are in the same room and they're logged into an event, one computer totally has to have all of its sound turned off, because it overlaps and creates feedback. So you want to practice what that might look like, and is a researcher going to sit over here and you're going to sit over here, and kind of work out all those details. You want to review your presentation. If you do have a larger research team or a lot of people that want to participate, we recommend not a very big group, like no more than 3 guests, because within an hour, not everybody can say everything. Make sure your school or museum or audience is good to go. Let us know if you have any questions. And on the day of the event, we'll want you to log in at least 15 to 20 minutes early. Judy and I usually get there a half an hour early, but we have to upload things and do other stuff. So if you're about 20 minutes early, that gives us some time to troubleshoot. And usually I put the audience, just like you guys were, on hold. We'll put the audience on hold, and the presenters can come in and talk to us without the audience hearing. Most of the time that works. Okay, interrupt if there's any questions. So now it's the day of the event. How does this all come together? So what happens on our end is, and I forgot a step here, is the day before or early that morning, Judy usually gets up early and uploads the content into Adobe Connect, so it's ready to go. So we get any of those videos and we get the PowerPoint, and it looks just like what you saw today. So we do all that. We'll also download who's registered, and ARCIS sends out an email. It goes out through a system we have, reminding people about them being registered, and it has all the details on how to join, and then they also get a PDF of the event that's coming up. And we also do last-minute advertising, actually, through Twitter and things like that. We go into this room, we get it ready, and just at that 20-minute mark or so, about the time we think you'll be joining, we connect the phone bridge like we've done today and kind of get things going. If you're a presenter, we will be giving you a PolarTREC login and password, and you will start up your computer and go to the Adobe Connect website link that we've provided, the same one you used today, and then instead of logging in as guest, though, you will log in as a presenter, and then the presenter will you will bypass the participants on hold and come directly into the room like you are right now. And Judy was reminding me that registered people don't actually get a PDF. It's a link to a PDF, though. Right, Judy? Don't they get there's a link? Oh, no, they can request it if they want it.
Yep, they can request it if they want it before, and then they get a link when the event is archived, and it has the PDF then.
Yeah, good. Thanks for correcting that. But the research team and teacher do get a small PDF, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so when you join us at an event, you're going to come in as a presenter, not as a participant. If there's extra researchers and extra computers joining, all of them or extra team members, not computers, joining, they can log in either using the same presenter login that we give the teacher, or they can log in as guest, either way. And then once we get going on an event, just like today, we'll start the recording. Judy and I usually do a lot of troubleshooting, helping classrooms quiet down, kind of explaining what's going on, helping people with microphones, chatting with people, all those kinds of things before we even get started. Then we'll start the recording. We'll introduce the whole show and what's going to happen. Judy and I will go through the front end of the presentation, all those base slides, and then we will close out. We'll turn it over to you, and then as a teacher, and then you can advance the slides. And advancing the slides, and I don't know if Dave and Eric, you want to try this, but basically advancing the slides, since you're in presenter mode, just means clicking on that next button and going through each of the slides. You can do that on your own. You can also use the little arrows to click, and if you'd like to test that out now, especially Dave, since you might be running it, you can play with those little tools at the moment. So, and then you'll just keep talking away, and you'll have your webcam and microphone and be presenting away, and then Judy and I will interject with questions. Questions usually show up down here in the chat area, the public chat area, and one of our recommendations is not to read those if you're actually presenting. It gets really distracting. But if there's another team member with you and they have their own computer, they can be responding to them and answering them. We may recap some of those questions for people that, because some people don't join virtually, they are just join using the PDF and phone, so they won't see that chat, so sometimes we'll relay those questions again. The other thing as a presenter going on is that we will type things over in the presenter chat area, like, oh, people can't hear you, can you speak up, things like that, to notify you that something might be going amiss. As a presenter, just one thing to note, there's this gray bar that it's between the content and the presenter staff chat area. Everything to the left of the gray bar is what the public can see, and everything to the right is what is private. So that means that if you decide to maximize your window like that, over here, or do something crazy, that happens, that affects everybody. So to the left of the gray bar, don't mess with anything. To the right, feel free to look at the PDF and chat away if you're presenting. Just a little thing. And we'll remind you if we test with you or just before the event, some of these things as well. Okay. I already mentioned this, but basically the next thing is presenters log into the event. You connect with your phone or microphone. You connect your webcam. You present, and so forth. I think I covered all of these. Oh, at the very end, after everything's all done, we usually try to say thank you. We actually have a closing pod, which I'm going to share with you right now. So just before I think that you're pretty close to being done and we're like, oh, and we're going to wrap up now, before we all go away, we put this closing pod up, and this is to say thank you, and also it's our feedback form about events. So we'll put this up, and people will type in thank you and all that kind of stuff. And then once it looks like everybody's done, we'll stop the recording, and that's a great time if there's family or friends or people online to open up their mics and say hi and say thank you and stuff. So that happens afterwards. And then you're all done. You just basically log out, and Judy and I clean up the room, and we do all the post-archival things and send out the link to the archive to everybody, post it online, and then basically you're done with your whole presentation and your pieces. So that is that in a nutshell. Questions, thoughts, things that I didn't go over, Judy?
I have to unmute myself. There we go. I was just wondering, I don't know, Dave, what computer you're using, but whether you wanted to try to turn on the webcam, if you have a camera.
Oh, sure. You want
Yay.
there.
Awesome. Hi, Dave.
Right.
Yeah, and so during a presentation, Dave, unless your researcher was not with you for some reason, like you had somebody, back, and this could happen from a ship actually. If there's somebody that's not on the ship but's on the mainland that wants to participate and the ship's webcam isn't working, we could have their webcam instead of you, or two of them, but usually we just go for the one. And then also we never let the participants, like classrooms, do webcam stuff, which is a common question. They all want to know whether they get to use their webcam, and it's not. It's just the view from the presenter to the classrooms or to the audience. It's one way.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Dave, since you're going to be the one that probably puts this into practice, any things that you can think about or things that you're kind of wondering about?
Yeah, the whole connection thing is going to be, I guess we'll just see. I'll talk to Mike some more.
From a ship and what it's like,
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah.
So from the ship, and this could happen with Eric's team up in Greenland as well, but from the ship, basically you will not, to my knowledge, unless there are some ships that have changed, but I don't think the ship you're on is one of them. You should not have access. I would not plan on you having access even to Adobe Connect. Like, I would plan on you being able to call out through their phone system to the number that we give you, the 1-800 number, and you should have a PDF, and basically you're going to be doing all of this without seeing what's happening online.
Right.
That will be your view. Now your participants will all be online, so we would relay them. And the reason why I don't know about your ship entirely, and you may not know until you get there, is sometimes they can get internet access depending on where they are located, but you might not do the webcam. It may be just we hear you able to see the slides and you're just talking.
Right.
Yeah. So the bandwidth might not be there, but and then some of the ships, like the Palmer, like Judy and I did one with Kara last year. They had this new platform or a new internet connection and satellite agreement, and they had full internet. So she did the whole thing. So, but that was very unique.
Right.
Yeah. So the big thing, what I've seen on the ships before, Dave, is that they'll have, usually there's a science lounge of some sort, or like a conference room, and they will have this thing called a Polycom conference phone, and it's tied to the ship's satellite phone system. And most of the ship things I have seen actually look like basically everybody sits around this middle picture here. They sit around the Polycom. That's on a ship, and that's what it looks like. In this case there were a lot of people, but they are just presenting, and they had a computer hooked up. With the PDF on it, so that all the people in the room could see that PDF. And then here's the phone right there.
Right. Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the ships too, usually there's like a IT person that knows all the secret codes for dialing out on the ship phone. So, because usually there's a bunch of access numbers before you actually get to the 1-800 blah 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 number that we use. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
And but getting slides to us, getting material to us, will probably be a little bit easier. Basically, you'll just have to talk to the IT people and give yourself several days. Like, don't be last minute about stuff. You know, you could send us a PowerPoint, a kind of a skeleton of a PowerPoint before you even get on a ship, and then you could say, fill it out with, you know, when you're on the ship, I want to replace slide number 2, 3, 4 with these photos, or tell us what to do and send us those photos. Because you can definitely, you'll be able to send out small chunks of data. If you send out a big PowerPoint, you may have to talk to the IT people about sending out a big thing, and they just queue it when they think they can do it, and stuff like that. So it's all workable. It's mostly getting to know the IT people, and they can probably help you through most of it.
Yeah,
Right.
usually what I remember is behind every successful event in really remote areas or on ships, you usually hear that the teacher has connected with the IT person wherever they are, whether it's at a station or on the ship or whatever, and they're really helpful usually.
All right. All good fun.
Yeah, and then I think the other challenge for you is, and we can talk more during your pre-field too, we'll discuss that, but is more about, you know, what audiences you can hit up, because your school will be starting back up, right, while you're there?
Yeah, actually, our dates got moved, so we'll be in school. We're not leaving until the 7th of September now, so we'll be back in school for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So you know, your main audiences, you won't have this summer thing where it's a little bit more challenging because school is out of session. Yeah. So Eric, have you been to Greenland before?
I have not, no.
Summit? Okay. So our understanding from Summit Station is that internet is there, but it's like all the other kind of field stations, and the same with on the ship. When everybody wants to, you know, use the internet, it suddenly bandwidth disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, Steve and you and Ian should be able to. Robbie said that, you know, you should be able to do a full-on event just like what you saw today. So they may just, you know, tailor the internet and allow just you guys to use the entire bandwidth for that time frame. And that's one of Steve's jobs, is to connect with the IT people when he gets up to the summit. And kind of see, you know, tell him who he is and what dates he's looking for the PolarConnect event and things like that. So our expectation is that you may not be able to do the webcam piece, but if not, usually what we do for low bandwidth webcam stuff is you just come on at the very beginning so we can all see your faces, and then we have you turn it off during the rest of the presentation. But it just really depends. We'll know on that day and time what the webcam issue is, but the rest of it should be, you'll be able to log on to the internet and come into Adobe Connect and see just like what you saw today.
Okay. So as a researcher, I would just be there to like answer questions?
Yeah, what I don't know from Summit is if you can have, during the event, is if you could have two computers, because when there's team members around you, sometimes it's really nice to have at least two computers plugged into Adobe Connect at the same time. So the teacher's on one presenting, and then, you know, turning it over to team members for presenting as well. But while one person is presenting, the other person could be addressing questions, and the easiest way to do that is obviously with two computers. If that's not the case, or that setup doesn't work, it's fine to have one computer, all three of you, you know, all the team members there, Steve presenting, and you and Ian piping in, you know, different parts as you go along. And then Judy and I, what we do then is we will relay all the questions to you through, sometimes we'll do live questions, but that's at the end, you know, like have ones from the actual audience. But most of the time people are just typing them in chat, and we relay them through audio system. But so your role as a researcher is really to help Steve come up with the, you know, review his content, make sure that the science is in there is what you want to say about the science. And then, and it's fine. Steve does not have to be the spokesperson for the entire, your teacher does not have to be the spokesperson for the entire event. You can have, in fact, it's nice not to have it that way. Like the teacher does, introduces, like, here I am, I'm with these people, this is how I got here, yada yada. And then, you know, you introduce, you know, the objectives of the research, why you're there, maybe, you know, the data collection stuff, and what you're finding, and then, you know, the teacher comes back in saying what they're doing with the experience, or things that, you know, parts that they're taking part in. So it's nice to bounce it between all three or a couple people, so that it's not just one perspective. And then answer questions as they go along. And the questions will be for all of you. Usually they bounce between teacher and researcher. So.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Judy?
Nope.
Anything else you can think of?
You did a great job covering it all.
Okay. All right, Dave, something else from you?
Good, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted you to get a feel for what it was like, and but yeah, just so it's not a complete surprise.
It's all very doable.
Yeah, yeah. Until you're on the ship, right. Then it is.
Puking your guts out.
No, it's doable. Yeah, I think the big thing is it will be, you know, trying to get your classroom set up, and then make sure your computer's ready to go once you're on the ship. And, you know, if by some miracle there is a little bit of an internet connection, you'll be able to use it. Most likely not, though. Like I said, your situation, and like most ships, basically you'll get the PDF or have your PowerPoint running behind on a screen, and then it's just trying to get the audio, trying to connect. So.
Right. Well, thanks a bunch.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you both for joining, and we'll, let's see, I guess turn off